In this video, we're going to discuss how much does it cost to do SEO marketing for local companies versus national companies, and what is the difference between local SEO and national and even international SEO. And so the first thing we're going to look at is what's the difference between local SEO and national SEO or international SEO. And my background is actually in blogging, which is more of a national, international SEO strategy. And then I worked at a local service business, and so I learned all the local SEO. And so I have a unique situation where I have both experiences, and so I'm going to explain it to you about the differences, what the costs are, and how this all impacts your business. So the first thing that you want to ask yourself is, in my business, who is my client? So we typically work with local service businesses, and if you're a carpet cleaning company or HVAC, electrical, plumbing, any of those types of service businesses, 9 times out of 10, you have a geographical area that you service. So if you're in Boston, for example, you don't want people searching for carpet cleaning in Los Angeles, right? You want people in Boston that are searching for you. So that is local SEO. And the beauty of Google is that even if you don't put this geo target of Boston, Massachusetts, Google pulls in your location in maps. So one example is if I search accountant, it's going to pull in my local area, which this is literally where I live right here. So it's going to pull in my map, and I haven't put that classifier on here because it knows based on my IP address and based on my location settings on my phone. So this local search, these are the local SEO results. So up top here, you're going to have your Google Ads. This has nothing to do with local SEO. It has to do with running ads. And so similarly here, accountant, you're going to see some search ads. So these are Google local service ads, and then there could be search ads, which they have at the bottom of this page. But then the next part is your local SEO, which is the local map pack or Google local service pack or whatever they call it. But there's a bunch of different names for it, but the local map pack, 3-pack, that kind of stuff. And so what happens is that Google only shows 3 results inside of this pack, even though you can see on this keyword there's 22 million results, and even on the local service ads there's 50 plus carpet cleaning companies. Our whole goal of local SEO is to have us ranking on different keywords inside of this local service pack. And so we actually track those keywords for our client. But that is what local SEO is. So I actually have it broken out here between the 2 different ones. Local pack, which is what we just looked at. This is our local service pack. These are all the qualifiers of what it takes to get ranked on here. So you have your Google business profile. Google My Business has to be filled out and optimized. And they're constantly coming out with changes literally almost every single week. They just changed the name. And so they're always making changes to this. So you want to make sure that you're staying on top of that. As you can see, the second most important thing you can do is get Google reviews, because Google reviews, not only if just looking at this would you pick the one that has the most to start with, you'd also look at if they respond to reviews and the number of 4.7 out of 4.9. So maybe you would pick this one, but you probably wouldn't pick this one because they have 45 and 4.2. So reviews is the second. This is actually from Google, so this is what they want us to do. On-page SEO, which if you see this right here, your local organic, this is all of your national SEO stuff. And that is actually your number one thing. So a lot of SEO companies focus on your on-page SEO, but they miss the local side of things, which is why companies partner with companies like myself. And so you can see on-page SEO is important, getting backlinks. And so these are a little different than citations, which citations are your listings all across different platforms. Your backlinks are from local places like HOAs or local networking groups that you're a part of, or local colleges or local schools and stuff like that. Behavioral and personalization. This is more interacting with your Google business profile, personalization of actually posting content on here, which is important. So at the bottom of these, you can post different things. And so that's what your local SEO is mainly driven off of. And so for your local service pack, this service typically costs around $400 to about like $700 a month. And you can see good results because on the back end of this, Google actually gives you all of the data to show you in the past 28 days how many calls how many website visits, how many photo views, so you can see the activity. And so you know, okay, well, if I get 40 calls, then that leads to X amount of, if I close 50% of these, blah, 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 blah. You can figure out an ROI. So this is about $500 to $700 someone to probably do your local SEO. The next part of this, it's still your local organic, but this is more of your national SEO stuff. It is important for local businesses to do, but really this is what the national brands and international, let's say you have a blog and you can help anyone in the entire world. This is really what you're going to be focused on. And these are all your URLs to your website. So when someone searches for a product or something that you offer, they may show up here, but really it's in your URL from your website. And that is what the old SEO is really about, is how much traffic does this keyword have? Is your website optimized to rank for that keyword inside of this section of Google? So if you see like this company right here, this is correct SEO on their website, and they're ranking number 2 only behind Yelp. And then Angie, Stanley Steamer, Home Advisor, Expertise, Boston Carpet Cleaning, Massachusetts. So you get the gist of it. So I'm going to show you, let's say that someone is searching for an accountant. This is a good example because carpet cleaning, you can't do carpet cleaning in Los Angeles. Accountant, you may be able to be an accountant in Boston, but you also may be able to do accounting services in Florida, for example. And so the reason that local SEO, it will work in Boston if that's where you're located. But what's not going to happen is you're not going to rank in your local pack here is not going to rank in Florida if your location is in Boston. It takes your address into consideration when it shows results. So we have some clients, for example, that are in Virginia, but they also service Maryland. Well, if their location is in Virginia and they only do like a 15 or 20 mile radius around there, then you're not going to show up in this local pack unless you have another physical location in Maryland. And so that's where this section comes into play, which is building out service area pages or other case studies that have your geo targets inside of them, which will help you rank on these keywords. And that's another strategy that we utilize. But your more national and international SEO, they only focus on this, which is, okay, I search for accountant. So what does an accountant do? And if you see, this is Northeastern University. So they want to rank on this keyword because maybe someone will come here and learn about what an accountant does, and then maybe they'll sign up for classes for them to become an accountant. And so this type of SEO, it's very, very technical. And the reason that it's so technical is because if you see the number 1 ranking is your on-page SEO. And what on-page SEO means is when you go to a page, like this is one on our website. So when you hover over your blog post, for example, and there's pages that are built out, there's a lot of factors that go into this. But you can see up here that you have a title tag, you have a meta description, you have all your content. So your content has to be a certain amount of length. You have to do the keyword research. You have to build it out correctly on the back end with your meta descriptions, your alt tags. There's a lot more that goes into it. And then also you have to use Google Analytics or something, like some platform to track your rankings on those keywords and then creating more content. And so a good SEO strategy for just like national, international, on-site SEO, you're going to be spending at least $1,000 to $5,000 plus. And the reason is because it's very, very time intensive with analytics, because you have to do all the keyword research, you have to write the content, you have to build it on the back end correctly, you have to track your progress, and it's a constantly evolving thing, which is using the data to make good decisions. So as you can see here, there's a lot of things that go into it, and this is specifically for local companies with your on-page SEO. But if you were, again, doing a blog, or you could service anyone, maybe you don't specifically focus on geo targets. Maybe you focus more on like this versus that content, or whatever your specific people are searching for, like Pepsi versus Coca-Cola, McDonald's versus Burger King, and then like breaking it down very, very in depth. What Google does is that they're going to scrape your website and they're going to see, okay, do you link to this stuff? Do you have internal links? Are people spending time on your website? Are you actually adding value? Are people going back to your website? There's a lot of stuff that goes into it. So the overall thing that you can take from this, from a cost perspective, is that your local SEO is around $500 to $700 a month. Your on-site SEO is typically going to be around $1,000 to $5,000 plus, depending on all the work that's going in. If the company's building new pages for you, they're optimizing your current pages. If they're building out new content for you, depending on the frequency of that. If it's monthly, if they're doing 1 a month or 2 a month or 5 or 10 a month, I mean, it can scale up pretty heavily, because the more content that you have, the more time people are going to find you, and then the more people are going to actually go to your website and then hopefully convert into leads. So SEO is definitely a long game. SEO typically, if the local SEO is going to take at least like 6 months, your on-page SEO is going to take at least like a year to get the snowball rolling of content and traction, and then you start to go. Even if you post a new page on your site, Google may not index it. They might not register it in their search engine results. It might even take them a month or two, and you could push it through Google Search Console, but it takes time. So the gist of it is that it takes time. It costs, vary. But what I can tell you is that the companies that we work with that implement a strategy for SEO, local SEO, and on-site SEO, it will work. Even if you stop using the company that did the SEO, if they're a good company, you'll have that snowball rolling, and it will continue to carry you and carry you and carry you. And we've seen that with a lot of companies that we've worked with. So I'll put some links down below that are going to help out with coming up with content ideas. We posted some other videos about that as well. But if you have any other follow-up questions, drop a comment below. You can email us, info@flashconsulting, and be sure to hit like and subscribe if you want some more videos like this. And we'll see you in the next video.